Have you ever felt like you don't belong anywhere?
Too foreign for one country, too different for another. You speak the language, but you still feel a little bit like an outsider. You live between two cultures. Where is home?
Guys, today we're talking about the identity crisis of living between two worlds. The struggles, the confusion, and how to finally find the peace of who you are.
If you've ever questioned where you truly belong, this is the episode for you.
Guys, this is Luis Regalado, my beautiful wife Tiffany Regalado, and we are the hosts of the Caminante, the podcast where the cultures collide and empires rise.
That's right. Great job, babe. So excited about today's episode. The struggle of living between cultures.
So what did you say? Not American enough, not foreign enough, that kind of personal stories that we struggle in every single day?
I think it's so normal. Whether it's culture or anything else, there's just this desire to have this sense of belonging, you know?
So do you think that, is there an emotional toll when you're trying to find your own identity, either because, you coming in, marrying me, and everything else that, I bring to this relationship, and in my end, do I feel that being in a country that I've been for so long, more than the one that I was born, sometimes I still struggle, right? With that identity. Even though I know who I am, sometimes it feels also a little bit foreign, way lesser than before. But I think in the process, years, before I got married to you and everything else, I was struggling with that a lot. Where is home? Who am I? In the sense of, am I, Venezuelan? Am I American? I'm dual citizen, but it's still, you don't even know where you fit until you find it. And I think I found that when I marry you. Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, from your end, did you struggle with some of that? When with me, my friends, my family?
Yeah, it's all about the perspective of it.
Okay.
Yes, there is an emotional toll to answer the question, but you have to train yourself to see the good in the situations. And it's a dangerous trap that we get ourselves in when we think that that the situation we're in is just, it's not good. There's no way out. That's such a dangerous place to be. So we mentally just have to, especially in marriage, because there's not a plan B, C, D.
Right.
This is it. not quite what I thought I was signed up for, but how do you know 10 years ago what you're going to sign up for in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years? You don't.
No, you don't. I mean, you take a leap. That's why it's called a leap of faith, right? And I think that's what marriage is. You kind of see, and you can mitigate, but still, I don't think, you truly take a leap of faith. And hopefully you thought through it. And, how do we do it? I mean, we went to therapy for an entire year, right?
Yeah, and that she even said...
You guys are this is going to be a tough one.
She did. She was like, you guys know that it doesn't have to be this hard.
Right.
And she sort of encouraged... I felt like she wasn't very... She knew that it was going to be tough.
She never told us what to do.
No.
That's not their job. Their job is to make you think about it.
Right.
I like her. I really did. I felt that even though she was from a particular culture, American, she could be very empathetic and open-minded to the situation, because I'm sure we were stretching her in the sense of, was she exposed enough with all her career about this type of relationships? With your background, my background, with us getting together. She said, this is what she said. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, I already had a lot of anxiety about just the marriage commitment
right.
as a whole. I just
Right.
did not, I just didn't want to, I didn't want to have the chance to ever like go through divorce.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess when you're marrying, you don't want to do that. That's the whole idea of marrying, right?
Right. But there's always really going to be, if you ever marry, there's always
that possibility.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on, your faith and where you are with that. And if you find that as as the venue when things get hard, probably that's a very high probability. I mean, I never saw it even as an option, just because of my faith and what I believe in, and the examples that I had with my parents and family overall. But going back to the topic, which I do believe is when you are in a country that you were not born on, sometimes you struggle. And I'm talking to some of my friends, their kids, they're born here and they're growing up. I feel, especially with some of the comments, they struggle even early on, and this is all what they know, in their identity. Because home, you have this multicultural, Spanish, English, food is different, the whole thing. But when they're in school, they're trying to fit in with the common population. And sometimes they say, hey, daddy, no Spanish, English, only English. Because they are already identifying themselves with the groups, right, that they're hanging out with,
Right.
they're going to school with. And that's something that it's very hard to deal with, and especially at an early age, 5-6 years old, when you really don't even know who you are, because you're literally a baby, you're still a kid, and you are already seeing those differences between the languages, the cultures at home, what you see every single day. So
It's the struggle of mixed races.
It is. It is. I deal with that every single day with people that work for me, and they tell me, I'm from here and my background is there, and my mom and my dad. Do you think that I should be, and not to go into details, but I still see how that is really ingrained in their brains, right? In those paradigms that they built, because they know two different worlds versus the common kid that they probably may know only what they see is only one world.
Right.
And we're going to talk about that because I think it does become a superpower.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
However, it takes time to get there. Like, I feel like you're going to build muscle, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to take a little while,
Right.
but through that process, you're building up that muscle of
Right.
perseverance
That's right.
and fight and grit. And it's tough. I've talked to a lot of people who've, I guess, transitioned essentially through the process, and it's very hard.
It's difficult.
And you do not want to get stuck in that transition, because if you do, you run the risk of not reaching your full potential and everything that you can truly become.
Right. Well, it's this is how I look at it. In the process, right? It's kind of like how I look at how diamonds are made, right? The process of making a diamond is powerful, it's hard, there's a lot of fire in it, but then the final product is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that this process of going through multicultural exposure, especially very early on, even though it's a struggle because you just don't know. You're a kid, like this example, 5-year old.
Yes.
They just want to fit in with their friends, right? They just want to fit in and be cool and normal, right? But what they don't realize is that in that process of managing two cultures, two different worlds, right? Outside of home, inside of home, traditions, everything that actually builds, that makes a culture, like food, traditions, the typical activities that happen in the weekends, everything that goes around a family and all that. I believe that when it gets together and that person is capable to accept it, embrace it, both are okay. Doesn't matter if one is better than the other one. Both are okay. You embrace both. You embrace both languages. Imagine the superpower that allows you to have as an individual, right? Now your brain is thinking about two different exposures, two different cultures. I mean, there's just more exposure for that person. And as a consequence, I cannot imagine how come that cannot be considered a superpower.
Of course.
Right?
This is going to sound very controversial, but I just have to put it out there.
Go for it, please.
Dr. Martin Luther King said, "We are not born to hate. We learn to hate."
Right.
And a great friend of ours was telling me a story about her son who was in middle school, which here is between 6th to 8th grade.
Okay.
And the teacher, because he spoke with an accent and he spoke 2 languages, and when you speak 2 languages, sometimes it can be, you may be a little bit slower learning in English if you speak 2 languages.
That's right.
And it was, instead of being used as, like you said, a superpower, this particular teacher, who was she was American, right, had frowned upon it, and it was an issue, and it was
thought that the kid was not developed enough, right? I can imagine.
So I don't want this to sound negative, but I also just want it to be a realistic perspective that racism can be
part of the problem,
can be real.
Right.
And I have learned to have a lot of compassion for racist people, because I don't think they were born that way. I think that they had some sort of experience with a particular culture that made them feel that way towards that culture. And when you can have some sort of compassion on that, you learn that eventually they can come to love and grow. And I think that's where we really unite and see peace. So I just know that that's a very real thing, and it breaks my heart.
It is real. And that could be because of multiple reasons. I'm going to piggyback to what you said about the kid, because I also heard different stories about similar experiences.
Yeah, it's happening to another friend of ours,
yes,
too.
The kid speaks 2 languages. Of course, because he's learning 2 languages, he's not fully speaking in one or the other. Teacher, because, I'm going to say ignorance or not knowing enough what that looks like, thought that the kid was not catching up at the level of the other kids' ages.
Yes.
And was assuming that he was just not performing well. 2 years later, this kid is almost, I think, 6 or 7, speaks fluently 2 languages, Spanish and English, perfectly. Right. Imagine in such an early age speaking 2 languages.
Yes.
And think about what that does when it comes to information.
Right.
And learning from one venue, right, and what that language looks like, and then learning from another venue, from Spanish, and all, because books are different, right? Even though, and that's why I want to make sure that makes a difference. Having the power of managing two languages, the information that you get is exponential. It's way globalized, let's call it like that, because you got multiple authors, even though they translate, it doesn't sound the same. So the exposure, right, and the growth that individual at such an early age can have with acquisition of information, knowing two different languages, I think the sky is the limit for people that actually can do that from such an early age.
Well, that's exactly what happened. So the mom pulled this student because he was getting D's and F's. He was like depressed. He was so sad.
Right.
Because imagine
he's
how
hitting the system. He's hitting against the wall.
Yes, right. Every day you're going to school like that.
And they make you feel that you're less than. You're less, yes.
So she pulled him. She put him in a new school. Right. The teacher was more well-cultured, receiving, right. Embraced who he was, and he prepared. Was straight A's.
More prepared, right, see.
That's and now he's like thriving.
Right,
and.
Right. But that's real. It really happens. I mean, I went through it, and I was not at that age, but when I started learning the language, imagine, you are 18, 19, and they see you as, he's not a part to the level everybody else. It's because I was learning the language, right. And I still trying to execute, right, task and other things. So it is real, but when you overcome that, it becomes, a real superpower.
Yes.
I would say. Yeah. So
you're so powerful.
Oh, sweetie, you are the inspiration of the power. That's how I see it.
I hope one day to be able to speak multiple languages. I've been learning Spanish for 10 years. I say the same sentences every time.
Right. Well, but they get better. It's the same sentences, but they get better.
They do?
They do.
Thank you.
They do. So tell me about traditions, because, I think that also comes into play. The traditions, you like arepa, right?
I love arepa.
You acquired something that...
love arepa. In fact, I feel so sorry for the people who don't know what arepas are. I try to talk to my American friends about it, and they just like... Anyways, you don't know, so you know. It's in between like a sandwich and a hamburger kind of.
Oh no.
Yes. It's number one, it's so super healthy. In fact, I feel like when I eat arepa, I lose weight. That's why I'm like, can we eat arepa tonight? But it's a flour type mix. It's like a flour, but I don't know the terms. It comes in a bag like flour. Go get it. Pan, arepa pan. They sell it at Publix. You take...
Harina pan.
Oh, yeah.
Harina pan.
That's it.
Harina pan.
Right.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's the name of it. Harina pan. It's in a yellow bag with blue and a girl on there. And... you take equal parts, like you take 1 cup of the flour mix to water. You roll it up. You'll get better. Trust me, it's only taken me 10 years. And then you make them, you roll them in a ball, and then you pat them, and then you put them on a pan on top of the stove. And then you can stuff it with, my favorite is avocado, black beans, and cheese. If we're going out somewhere to a Spanish restaurant, I love the pabellon, which is a shredded beef. It's so good. I can't make it at home. But arepa are so good. Or just find, there's like a lot of Latin cafes nearby. If you've never tried arepa, you have to go try it.
So that's one of the things that you embrace, from like my traditions, right? Ayaca, you do ayaca in the week in December, Christmas season.
Pan de jamón, which I learned how to make this year.
So what I'm trying to say about this is, at the end of the day, you cannot make your own identity, right? Like at home, we got this mix, between the food that, the flavors that I bring in, when we do it in Thanksgiving, we stick with the American way, right?
Yes. Which is great. I
Which
mean,
is
these are
great. I
recipes
love it.
from
I
like
love it.
3-4 generations.
And I love it. I enjoy it so much. I don't see a Thanksgiving without that type of, a meal and how you guys prepare it, your mom, you. So you create your own culture within your own house. Then what that tells me is, do you really need to fit in order to feel that you belong somewhere?
Right. I think what we have come to adopt, and really it's a mindset, it's an attitude, is
Right.
that
Love
your
it.
identity is yours and no one else gets to define it.
Right.
And the quicker we become comfortable with just adapting, changing, growing, the more peace I feel like there is. When we get going, when we remain a team and embrace everything, there's peace in our home. When we get like your way or my way, or
Right.
that's when, and that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's natural, I feel like, just because we're human beings.
Right.
To think about our differences as being negative and challenging, and they are very hard.
So what you're saying is, when we get into this position of trying to prove, your heritage or my heritage, and that clashes, right? That's not the way to actually find the common ground. But when we embrace our differences, our heritage, and we make our own at home, makes the difference.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not easy. I mean, especially during the holidays, it's like, I dread them.
So here's the thing.
It's true. It's hard. It's so easy to say, but you also have to be realistic, especially for people who are watching, who go through it. It's not always easy.
No, it's not. No, it's not, because the differences is what makes it difficult.
Right.
The differences, you're different, I'm different. We both were raised completely different, right? And then I'm trying to do something the way I know how to do it, and you're doing the same way. It doesn't mean that you're doing it the wrong or the right way, or vice versa, and that clashes.
Right.
And that's kind of where, and that's what I was saying, when we try to prove our heritage indirectly in these kind of circumstances, that's what we're doing. Instead of, oh, hold on, it's okay her way, it's okay my way. I could probably do it her way this time, and then the next one, then we kind of go back and forth, so that way we allow a space for both of our worlds.
Right.
Right. I see that.
I saw the most beautiful reel the other day. It was a couple, and they were probably in their 80s, maybe 90s. And she was in there washing the dishes, and he walked in and he came up behind her and he gave her a big hug. And then on the screen it said, "Do you have any idea how many times this couple has forgiven each other?
I can only imagine. We only got, 12 years together? Hey, I can only imagine going, 20, 30, 40 years. When we asked this, the gentleman not too long ago, last weekend, how old have you been married? What's the secret? And I hear 40, 45, 50. I mean, it's powerful. There's wisdom when I hear those numbers.
Yes.
Wisdom.
Yes.
Right? So this is getting interesting, because then what I think about is, you are, at the end of the day, the mix of things. And that's what makes you. I think in this globalized world that we live in, and the more you travel, right? I mean, I think about all these different places that I've been and that I have lived, between, Venezuela, Spain, Colombia, Puerto Rico, United States, you know, the traveling that I
How many
had to do,
countries? Like 50?
that I had traveled. I traveled quite a bit. I mean, in Europe, I know it quite well. Asia, I've been there for, you know, good amount of
Africa.
time. We've been in Africa, North America, United States. We traveled quite a bit. South America, being around the Caribbean. I even went to Russia, you know. But it tells me that that's what makes you. All the combination of these little different things that you are exposed to is what makes you who you are. That's your identity.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to push a heritage, because I was born, yeah, you were born there, you know, a long time ago. But you left, and then you travel, and then you move, and then you live in. So I think that's what makes you, that identity of yourself. And when we feel lost, when we travel, we migrate, and when you're in relationship, you know, from with somebody else from a different place, that makes you who you are. I mean, with you, I change, right? We become one, and truly, your culture becomes also part of mine, and vice versa. And now, truly, we have our own identity. We should be truly proud of it,
Yes.
because people don't tell you who you are. I don't think that it's a matter of, and especially in this country, they classify you, and they put you in these different buckets, right?
Yes.
Because
Well,
of,
you know, it was so shocking to me because you told me that like when you go places, they don't have the bubbles.
no,
The where you have to fill in questions
right,
like you do here, that
right.
they don't have that. And I just thought that was so crazy.
Well, I mean, where I come from, right, Venezuela, there was no difference between colors, or man or woman. There was just no differences,
Yeah.
you know, especially in colors. We are the same,
Right.
no matter what.
That's right.
The system here somehow, I think, because, and I understand what they do. They're collecting data, and the data allows you to actually, for medicine purposes, political reasons, there's just so much how they can use that data depending on the boxes that they want to put you in. But indirectly, it does create this divide, this division, right, in society, because of colors, or where you come from, and that, just that by itself, I do think that it creates a division in society,
Right.
because they're putting you in buckets. Where I came from, we didn't have that. There's not a questionnaire that tells you, you know, what color I am or where I'm. It's equal, right? So
I
yeah,
love that.
big difference. But I'm sure that the data is also very useful, right? So again, how do you do that? I cannot think that far. So what questions have you asked about the community, and what have you learned? I know that you're really into following with, you know, our audience, and any questions that you actually have found about or have you heard of?
Yeah, we talk a lot. I mean, this is a very common, especially most of my team is is it's Venezuelan, and but yeah, there was, you know, for example, one girl was feeling like maybe she didn't quite belong because she wasn't completely fluent in the language.
Right.
And then through conversations very similar to what we just talked to today, it was that she was stuck. It was a mindset, because realizing that your culture is more than just a language can help you fully embrace it and get out from being stuck and propel forward to be who you are. And now
Right.
she's thriving and growing, and so yeah, it's not easy, but if you find yourself there where you feel stuck in a negative mindset, in a negative attitude, or you can't push forward, this should be an encouragement that you can.
So culture is not only a language. It goes beyond that. And I think that's what you're trying to say. So because you may feel that you may not be there in the language or even adapting, there are other things that actually make a culture that can help you to feel or belong to somewhere.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I like that. I like that.
Well, and it's not only going to be one time. I feel like we're constantly, hopefully, evolving as human beings, as, you know, a mother, as a wife, as a friend, as we don't want to just stay one person. The world is moving,
Right.
and it's so important that we continue to learn and feed ourselves good things that can help us grow and evolve and change and become better. And in a world where we're just flooded with all different kinds of truths and opinions, and there's one truth. And it's so important that we learn that one truth that will keep us grounded, because even in marriage, in coming to a new country, you're going to be constantly, I mean, it's like this. You're learning, you're pulled here, you've got these feelings, you've got these emotions. Today you're this, tomorrow you're that, yesterday. So for me, just speaking personally about what has kept me grounded and secure and able to keep moving forward, even though you may feel this way or this happened, and some things are very valid that you can feel this way. One truth can always keep you grounded and able to move forward.
Excellent. So this is what I'm going to say with that. If this hit home, follow us, send us some comments. If you want to do it privately, please, you can reach out to us through any social media app that we're part of. But I do want to hear from you. We do want to hear from you. So that way we can feature you, talk about your story. I think exchanging a story is what makes this actually very, very interesting. Anything else that you want to share, Tiff?
I am just so thankful for you, babe, for our followers. We every week get so much incredible feedback. And it's just an honor to get to do this life with you and you guys. So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Caminante, where we talked about what it means to belong in a world that really doesn't fit very neatly into boxes, and embracing that that's okay.
Guys, if this episode again resonated with you, subscribe, leave a review, and share this with somebody so that way they can find their own path. Thank you. Have a great day, and we look forward to hear from you and see you in the next episode. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Adios.
Bye-bye.